I intend for this talk to be, well, of course, my stomach is growling right off the bat. To be long, to be a long, hungry desert. I don't want to talk about this. There will be a lot of pauses, and I'm not going to edit them out because we grown-ass adults need to talk about something in a different way. And we're going to have to learn to go slower, to be more careful in our approach to things, not because we're scared, but because we actually care. It's become common to say, I care about you, but don't say what's not true. Care. This is a big word, a very small, big word. On Facebook, we have the care react emoji. And to me, it's always been very creepy. And it feels like it's been written by artificial intelligence. It feels like it's written by people who don't know how to just hug. And that's us. Any form of intimacy is awkward and uncomfortable. It's way too close to sexuality in our culture. We're afraid of something. So, by the end of this talk, I am absolutely going to circle around and tell you why I do think Jeffrey Epstein and company are innocent. For now, I want to focus on my own life. This is what I really don't want to talk about, mostly because I've been forced to find my own way to deal with what I was born as, which is, on the face of it, in our world, a redhead with a nice rack. Okay? That's what I have learned that I am reduced to in this world by, look, it doesn't have to be an overt declaration from someone for you to feel what your stereotype is. I learned that people were going to see me a certain way, no matter what. So why not lean into it sometimes? I've become very playful in my sexual representation. Not even in a real life kind of way for the most part, but it really all started, I think, with becoming a fan of Doja Cat. Realizing that the only chance at sexual empowerment specifically was through being goofy about it. And that's precisely what these women have done who are very blah about it. WAP, okay? We're not given many opportunities to really exercise autonomy and it's not just autonomy, it's actual choice in the field, the sexual field, the romantic field, just the playing field. Sex is supposed to be adult playfulness, but that's not what it is for us. It's XXX. Why? Fundamentally, what sexual attraction is the desire to become something. There's a quality in the people that we are attracted to that we want for ourselves, or we wish to co-create with somebody. In the deepest sense, this means to procreate, to create literal new life. But it also can mean just artistic collaboration in some way. So this whole minefield, in astrology, it's the 5th house, it's Leo's house, romance, creativity, playfulness. In our distorted world, that's become celebrities, gurus, power and politicians, the crown, and not the courage. And people let's take a gathering sip. I'm talking about my life, not people. I have a stretch of my life from the ages of 20 to 24, specifically. Nope, 20 to 25. 20 to 25. And this stretch of my life is my worst. I was a late bloomer in every way, pretty much. I think I continue to be. I'm 41 now, and I feel like I've just been born. Because I have dealt with this era of my life, and it's the cause of my mental illness. It's what I have had to address and take responsibility for and not blame the rest of society for. It's also my freedom to fuck up and learn from my own mistakes. So I defend this time of my life ruthlessly. It's been my wrestling in the mud. It's been my season with the scorpion. Many of them. If you were to ask me my body count today, I would tell you with a lot of regret. It's 1. In a literal sense, I have slept with 1 person since a time that I've chosen to re-virginize. And it was a big mistake. And it was meaningless. And it was a relapse. And it also was a very handy container, like a condensation of those years. Because from the ages of 20 to 25, I can't tell you what my body count is because I was not keeping track. And I literally don't know the range. I don't know if it's 20 or 30. I really hope it's not 40, but I don't know. Because I was discovering freedom, sex, music, the world, college, knowledge, all at the same time. Oh, did I say alcohol? Because I discovered alcohol. And then all of this other stuff became, well, let's put it this way. Sex is sacred, and it's a sacred flame. It is our pilot light. It guides us, and if you allow anything in to light, to spark against your pilot light, if it's not supposed to be there, who knows what fire is going to come of it. In my case, I was actually incredibly lucky. I never got pregnant. I only got the STDs that were treatable by shot of antibiotic. And I attribute that to the fact that throughout the entire thing, I was still very aware of the fact that this energy was serving something bigger. Not always love, just mystery and power. And that's Scorpio. So it doesn't matter who I was with at whatever drunken, weird, wild moment, I was still investigating, again, a Scorpio word, something very deep and true about human existence. And it was all research. And I wasn't always mentally present. I've had the blurred line encounters. I don't know if I've been raped or not. I don't know where consent was and wasn't. At some point, a kiss wasn't just a kiss, and nobody taught me how to say no to anything more. And again, that's not anybody else's fault in my book. I don't think we were always meant to have elders, because among my many developing beliefs about what life is, reincarnation is one of them. And a time is bound to come where the teachers disappear. So, where was I? I wrote something, this was in the blur of that activity. I wrote something that scares me every time I read it. And I will link that here somewhere, wherever. This was the beginning of my intellectual acknowledgement of Kundalini. but it was always just an image. And I guess to this day, it still kind of is. I don't really, this is why I've repeated time and time again that there's no such thing as learning. We're only unlocking information that's already inside of us. I have no ability to learn out here anymore. I cannot sit in a class, and that's one thing I learned when I went to college, was that I wasn't a good student. I was just going to high school in rural Oklahoma. So along with my chasing the A, my high grades, well, like, that's what kept me busy in high school. And that's why I wasn't doing any of this in high school. I had a perfect first boyfriend and thought we were going to be together forever until, you know. I don't know what all this esoteric stuff is, except my experience. And that's where my experience is where all of my information or knowledge or wisdom comes from. And then information out here appears because the teacher appears when the student is ready, and then also disappears when the student is ready. We're exposed to so much all the time out here, especially now. And when you are in touch with your pilot light, your sexual fire, your primal fire, that's why I did have changed this word for a minute and just called it passion. But we need to talk about the 3-letter word before we can get to the 4-letter word. Part of that word is the feminine versus the masculine, and the feminine talks in circles, and that's something I can't train out of myself, and I don't want to. Not totally. So the past few videos I've made on this channel are a mess because I decided to let myself be as rambly as possible and then edit out all the crap, and even the edits look, they're so choppy. I think it's better to just let a girl ramble. Because yes, part of the masculine assignment is to learn to listen and to learn to consciously reduce this fire to, for one, not just being the dominant flame. Okay, this needs to be the dominant flame. These are your higher chakras. But everyone needs to learn to consciously reduce the passion when it is felt. And we learn how to handle fire by handling it, by sometimes giving into it, by dancing in it, by letting it go wild and experiencing the consequences, by, well, the one thing we have to not do is stomp it out. And here's where this Scorpio quarter moon becomes relevant, because a quarter moon is a square, a friction between two energies. And Aquarius, where the sun is right now, the temptation of Aquarius is to stomp it out. Aquarius is ice. It is a cool head. It is Spock. Like, the individual does not matter. It's about the group. And that has its place, but it's not what is ultimate. And the individual pilot light is that soul, that spark of life is the soul of the world. Micro, macro. Therefore, the health of the society comes from the health of the individual. So this is about gathering all of our forces, concentrating them into that candle light, the pilot light, which never goes out, but is always there to be ignited when it's time to let down the castle walls. But we are supposed to have castle walls. A country does have to have borders. Ice. Pluto in Aquarius. We don't have this flame in mind. And that's why there is a divide right now between people trying to get into countries and people trying to keep people out. And we're experiencing this on micro levels in our lives. I'm blocking people I never thought I would block. Because I've been taught as a woman, I don't get castle walls. People should be able to come to me for warmth whenever they need me. And whenever I'm not what they need, they should be able to be mad at me. That's my experience. I've been told by friends all my life that I'm a doormat, and then those very friends have become upset with me for not being a doormat for them. This goes back and has continued. Now is a time of reckoning, not even between people. I have no grudges against anybody ever, even people who are currently blocked, and I have a few. Actually, in a way you could say, absolutely every other human being is blocked, except for the ones that I live with, because I've designed my life so that I don't have to interact with people, except very passing. And that's kind of what happens. We end up having extremely superficial relationships because you get any deeper with another person. And we are full of scorpions. Shame over our past, lack of control over our present, and fear for our future. Just sit with those scorpions. That's what I learned to do. Just sit with the scorpions and learn that they are an illusion. Because what else can they be? This can't be reality. This can't be real life. The scorpion is the emblem of transformation. Scorpio is. And it embodies transformation. It has two more evolved forms. The scorpion becomes the eagle, becomes the phoenix. Just like you have to have lead, you have to start with a base metal to get a noble metal. You can't mass manufacture gold. Not that lead literally becomes gold. Well, I don't know. Is that what real alchemists do? I don't know. But what I'm saying is, you have a scorpion, like a creepy, crawly, reptilian brain. Creepiness is in you. I don't care who you are. It's your job to recognize that, evolve into your next noble form, the eagle. And the eagle is known for soaring above it, perspective, ability to see the big picture. But look at the United States, the eagle. We took that big picture and we exploited it. So the eagle is not actually noble. The eagle learns to burn off that 95% dead wood. Thank you, Jordan Peterson. I hope you're doing well. That poor man. That right there is a true masculine empath who has driven himself into the ground. I'm not defending everything that he's about because I don't know it, but that's what happens to people who really give themselves over to trying to understand instead of trying to hide from truth. And I think of him a lot because that piece of artwork that is his avatar in so many places, it's these colors reaching for a little, there's like a tiny glimpse of green. It's called the, like, something of music, I think. He's reaching for the heart chakra, for universal love. And whatever distortions are in his view come from his lack of reckoning with the crone archetype, which I've seen him refer to as witchy or whatever, witchy women. The thing that flares up, well, the left and women about him is what he has to reconcile with to access the rest of this. But anyway, the eagle is the ego. And it has to burn off 95% of its dead wood to become that spiritual gold that can truly move on to the rest of the zodiac. So the zodiac can be represented, like, can be seen as a wheel of maturity. Pisces being the most mature, Aries being the least. But that's only within social spheres, like the personality archetypes of astrology, which is unfortunately, or well, it's just the natural way of things. That's what most people are familiar with. But that's not really how it is. When you become a mature person, you handle all the energies of the zodiac with maturity. And they are seasons. Aries is springtime. So Aquarius, Spock, that's winter. And that's the cold, analytical approach to human problems is our attempt to become self-mastered without mastering Scorpio first, or any of these energies, but mostly Scorpio. In between Scorpio and Sagittarius is a constellation called Ophiuchus. This is the serpent bearer. He looks like a man wrestling a snake. And I didn't mean to talk a lot about astrology in this video, so I'm just going to leave it at that, because the images work inside of you better than anybody's description of them. The masculine wrestling with the serpent, which represents feminine wisdom. So this is, never mind. We're moving on. This word, body count. I've started actually translating our merging of sexual energies with one another, aka casual sex. I'm viewing it as a crime as bad as murder. I don't want this to be carried out in any legal sense or in any society anywhere on earth as something punishable by law. But in order to protect this sacred flame, as an individual, you might want to adopt that attitude. Because what else do those words imply? Body count. It's war. Sex is war. That's the basic meaning of Aries. It's sex and battle. It is the force of the seed being planted, I guess, or sprouting. So penetration, again, penetration, that's a Scorpio word, but they're both ruled by Mars, Aries and Scorpio. And Scorpio, ideally, is the higher octave ruled by Pluto, the mature feminine energy of Mars, because Scorpio is a feminine sign, being a water sign. Basically, having sex with strangers is as bad as murdering them, because you're giving them something that they're going to have to deal with for a long time. You are planting a scorpion in their bed, and they yours. At least it's mutual. And that's just law for me. That's natural law for me at this point. And I've learned that poison intimately as I possibly can. That's my freaking martyrdom, because that's a word for Saturn and Aries, I guess. But we don't need martyrs anymore. Those of us who have the experience can just speak up. And those of you who don't have experience can just listen to what's inside of you first, and whatever compels you out here in the world, wherever that pilot light pilots you, wherever your curiosity is, that's where you need to be. If you're curious about sex, sexuality, and you should be. Every human being needs to be curious. Reconciling with this mature feminine energy is about ending, I'm sorry to say this, but canceling the fire department. Like, we're not going out there and stomping out fires. That's not what we're doing. We're not forcing water through a hose to destroy all these fires that are out of control anymore. We need to be in control. We need to put the fire department out of service. Or let their jobs be mostly lazy. Because we can tend to these flames without shame. Shame. That's the snake for all of us. We learn early on that our entire economy is based on prostitution. Prostitution is the oldest profession. And you might even say it's the only profession, because every form of selling ourselves is a form of prostitution. The ones overtly offering sexual services are just among the most truthful of us. Not that I'm not saying I'm doing that, but in many ways I do consider myself kind of blatantly offering that energy. And this is why I feel that I was guided through all of my early 20s with protection, because I always came at everything with some sense of offering the funny stuff is coming to mind. A good time. It's the scorpion showing up in a clown suit. And that's kind of how sexuality can take on a very grotesque, cartoony appearance in our minds. If you're familiar at all with the psychedelic experience, or even just psychedelic art, the grotesque, the absurd becomes a kind of beautiful. And it's like the classroom, school's out for summer, that feeling of like just reckless abandon. And there is something so beautiful, a spark of intense joy to be found in that. Like, our fascination with sexuality is weird and is wild and deserves to be appreciated for that. And if we could just appreciate it instead of having to feel shame for appreciating it, even, we'd be able to find our innocence again so much faster. And losing sight of that cartoonish, garish, gross, the whole packaging of sexuality like that has been my greatest bliss. But I don't regret just I just don't regret a thing. So many young women in their entrance to spirituality are encountering high priestess, like being like Lemurian sex priestesses. The erotic energy is going through, well, it's awakening to a deep, deep ancestral memory of ways that societies have treated the flame, ways societies have formed around sacred sexuality. But it's all so fucking creepy to me. The only thing that's not creepy, the only thing that makes all these grotesque images like keep their place in one book on my shelf, is imagining a society where we are free to do as we will. but have well known and well established social rules about how to handle this, how to conduct ourselves. And this comes down to the individual enforcing it. And from there, back up from brave souls in the rest of the world. But leave police, leave authorities, leave everybody else out of it. This energy is wild, and it has to be experienced and felt as wild and something that we can handle ourselves. So, what are the rules? I am working them out. First rule: you have sex without love for another human being, and it's, what are intense crimes? Not misdemeanor. What's the other one? Murder. It's bad as murder. I don't know what, damn it. Human law has never represented justice to me. I think anyone can see that human law does not dispense justice. Sometimes we get lucky and justice happens, but that's just our best attempt to keep things under control, and it's not very good. I don't know what a serious crime is called. A felony. It's a felonious charge to sleep with someone without having a sense of genuine love for them and without understanding what they want from the interaction and making sure that your mutual needs and desires are considered. It's a felony. What's another rule we can come up with? You know what? I'm going to save the rules for another time. I think that's a good start. How about we circle back to Jeffrey Epstein and company? Why are they innocent? Because sexual desire is chasing something you want to become. And they chose to chase innocence the hardest of any of us. That's a joke. They're innocent because they represent us and everything that we've failed to examine and everything that we have failed to enforce. Every law, every natural law that we have given over to authorities outside of ourselves. You are the natural law. You are in charge of your country, which is your body, your mind, your soul. And if you don't take control, everything outside of you is going to do it for you. It is your responsibility. Saturn is going into Aries. He's not going to take your shit, and nobody else is either, because Saturn is going to be working through them. Take control of your life, or everyone else will do it for you. And it might be Sekhmet, putting you in a casket. And that's not so serious. Death is really not what's serious here. Life is. Take it seriously. Which is playful. In between my explorations into the Scorpio energy, I've had incredible experiences with incredible men. All of my long-term relationships have been safe and beautiful and nurturing. And I've never been the person I needed to be in those relationships. I almost, out of just learned repetition, spit out the words, I've never been the person that deserves those things. Nothing is a matter of who deserves what. Everybody deserves those things. We just have to learn how to handle them. This is why winning the lottery is a curse. It doesn't matter if you have wealth, if you're gonna destroy your life with having what you can't handle. Everything that you want is going to be the worst thing you could ever obtain if you don't have the wisdom to keep it, to keep the fire. We have to become keepers of the fire. Beware unearned wisdom. You don't have to go through experiences to obtain the wisdom. Your soul has been through many, many, many experiences. So you will know what you're well acquainted with and don't need to do. But there will also be things that you are not so well acquainted with, and you will have to do. You will have to make mistakes. You will fuck things up, you will hurt people, and that will never mean that you don't deserve something better later. Never. Yeah, I think even Jeffrey Epstein will get a moment of mercy and an opportunity to confess. And that will determine how he spends eternity, how he spends that moment of mercy, not how he spent it on earth. And who is that guy to you anyway? He's just an image on a screen. There's a certain story that's been floating around. Figure out how that avatar and his story fits into your story. Because it is there. What part of your experience with the concept of innocence and innocence lost? Where does he fit in that? Again, he is there. The worst possible, the deepest route to hell has been taken. Not even saying he's the one that did it. There's probably worse. He just got too cocky, I guess. Too open. We can thank him for that. For charting the path of inevitable exposure for this energy. We have a long way to go, but it is so. We are getting there. I'm crying because it's beautiful. The path ahead. And it doesn't even have to be scary anymore, looking at all this stuff. Again, learn to sit with what scares you and know that it can't harm you. It really can't. It can't harm you any more than anything could harm you before you were born. We come here and we are easily harmed. We are tender. But that very sensitivity that we're developing, that is our heaven. Heaven is in the body and it is in our experience. And as we become more sensitive, this place will become more and more beautiful. Sorry, I think Venus in Pisces. I'm going to blame her for my crying. Have I made my point? Have I said enough? Have I confessed enough? A confession is not my point with any of this because, again, I've confessed to the one that matters, which is myself, and whatever God is eyeballs everywhere. God already knows. You don't have to confess anything to God. You have to confess them to yourself. We are the ones that have trouble with the truth. God does not have trouble with what is true. Yeah, past all of the fascinating and bizarre and accidental and blurred, and then the truly loving and joyful sexual experiences I've had, past all of those, when my mother was on her deathbed, I experienced that, like the sexual awakening that attends grief. Like when you go to a funeral and you want to have sex with the first attractive person you see. It wasn't like that for me. For me, it was me trying to show my mother as she was exiting this life that I was intent on living. So I dated a guy who made good money because my mom was a Taurus and very concerned for resources and scared all of her life about money. And I really wanted it to at least look like something was going well for me in romance. And I really liked this person, but almost very carelessly and intentionally destroyed all of it by sleeping with him and knowing that I was destroying it because I was numb. I felt like I had forgotten what sex even was or what feeling good was, and it didn't feel good, and the whole thing was just unfortunate. It was what most people are experiencing as like casual encounters right now with other people, and it ended, it was the biggest womp womp ever, and it killed my sex drive totally. So at least I have that to thank for continued abstinence. People are not attractive right now. And I'm talking just from the inside out. From the inside. And it's leaking out for sure. People are not physically attractive because they're not attracted on the inside. And you can get all of that back in the space of, like, give it at least a year. But in 1 year, you can transform from ew to, oh my God. I mean, it's ideal to take longer than that, even. So I've now been celibate since 2022. And as far as celibacy as a tool for spiritual growth, that's not what this has been for me. It's just been like, ew. Everything is a turnoff. We are not attractive right now. And it's good to be able to look at yourself and be like, wow, I am not attractive. But I would like to become attractive. Like, how about we actually get humble? How about we admit that we are unattractive in some ways and that it's okay? And have also the continued humility to change that and to even want to become attractive for the other people that we get involved with. Attraction isn't just about, like, why don't you like me? It's not about trying to trick somebody into wanting to spend time with you. You can actually do things which make yourself enjoyable to be around and be somebody that you enjoy to be. Nothing is lost. But we've lost sight of how to serve one another and show up for the other. Not just for what we want from the other, or what portrait we want to show our dying mother, or our living families with all these expectations and whatever on. So much of our love life is dictated by what we're trying to show our own family members, not what we want. So getting rid of everybody else's expectations for what our life should look like is part of it, and setting up our own standards is the biggest part of it. So I do think I have said enough now. Leave everybody to their maker and find yours.